Hello, great people. It's an interesting time to be a Nigerian as exclusive information have emerged about the altercation between Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Senator Seriake Dickson. What led to the altercation between Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Senator Seriake Dickson? What happened during the closed-door session of the Senate? Why did Senator Seriake Dickson walk out of the Senate chambers in company of Senator Aminu Tambuwal, Senator Eyinnaya, Abaribe, and others? What was the politics that led to the ratification of the state of emergency by the Senate? Why did Senate President Godswill Akpabio declared that, when he put the vote that those in support say aye, why did he say in unanimity? Was there truly a unanimous decision as regards the state of emergency that was declared on Rivers State? We'll be exposing all these, we'll be dissecting all the associated issues on this episode of Politics with Dr. Omoshola. But first, let me play you two videos of about 1 minute duration. Let me refresh your memory of what happened on the floor of the Senate, and take note of that video because the content of that video will help in my analysis going forward. Let's watch those two videos, then we'll come back for the discussions as highlighted. Let's watch.
You said no matter what this Senate does, the Senate will not have your vote on anything the Senate does. That's what you said on television. I don't know, but I'm saying that if you have already made up your mind to go and talk on television when the Senate has not even considered any issue, I want to let you know.
To me, please.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm only saying, please allow me to preside. Allow me to preside.
Make my point for which.
Stand up and make a point.
Thank you, Mr. President. Please, we must have mutual respect for all of our colleagues, okay? And I do have regard for you, particularly as our presiding officer.
I appreciate
And I think that should be reciprocal.
Now, those in support of the declaration of the state of emergency in Rivers State say aye. And those again say nay. The ayes have it in unanimity.
There you have it. You just watched two videos. The first one is the altercation between Senate President Godswill Akpabio and Senator Seriake Dickson. And you could see in that video how the Senate President was trying to muzzle Senator Seriake Dickson, how he was trying to kind of like silence him. What was the reason for that? We'll dive into it. The second video is when the Senate President put forward the voice vote, and you can hear him remarked in that particular video that in unanimity. We'll be looking into that. Was there truly unanimity? But first, I need to lay some crucial background for you to understand what truly happened between them. You will recall that President Bola Tinubu, since the beginning of the crisis in Rivers State, has always tilted towards Nyesom Wike. The president has always wanted Nyesom Wike to be in charge of Rivers State. But then, how to achieve it became quite difficult, because if Fubara was impeached, it would have been a problem. It would have led to crisis. But since the Supreme Court favored Nyesom Wike, Bola Tinubu wanted Nyesom Wike to be in charge of Rivers State. So there was this thinking in the presidency that how can this be achieved? So they decided, okay, let us go for a state of emergency. But then there was a stumbling block in that for when you declare a state of emergency, within few days, the Senate and House of Representatives must give you a ratification of 2/3 members. Now, the APC, the ruling APC, do not have that required 2/3. So they need some people in the opposition party. They need to be able to win them over to their side to achieve the required 2/3 within a short period of time. So Nyesom Wike allegedly had known that a state of emergency will be declared, and the president reportedly allegedly called in that, okay, go and put in some background workings in place, that you being a PDP guy all along, definitely you have some senators, some House of Rep member that will be loyal to you. Now go and do the background work for the soft landing of a state of emergency. So now the second order is that of the National Assembly. The National Assembly was now, they summoned the principal officers of the National Assembly, which is the Senate President and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and they kind of like, gave what I can call an order to Akpabio that, okay, they gave him the responsibility to see how the state of emergency will sail through by fire by force. And Akpabio himself this is where it connects to Akpabio. You know, I said I'll give you a background so that you can understand it quite well. Godswill Akpabio wants to be the Senate President of Nigeria, if possible, till 2031. They know that Bola Tinubu, whether anybody likes it or not, we want to muscle his way back as president. And Akpabio is positioning himself to be in the good book of the president because he knows that people like Adams Oshiomhole, who happens to be a close associate of the president, is interested in becoming the Senate president. And Oshiomhole, what stopped him from being the Senate president at the moment was because he was a first-time senator. So he knows that he would have people to contend with, and he wants to place himself in the good book of the president so that when 2027 comes, the president will just give him a nod that, okay, let Akpabio continue as Senate president. And that is why you can see that Akpabio has been conducting himself more like a puppet with apologies to him in such a way that, nothing makes sense to him except what pleases the president. So it is towards the actualization of his Senate presidency in 2027. That's why Akpabio has been loyal. Now, there come the state of emergency and the Seriake Dickson effect. Seriake Dickson feels that, it is unjust that a state of emergency should not be declared like that when there are states that there are more troubles, that bandits are having holding sway. When there are states that Boko Haram are, living like that, why should you now declare a state of emergency in Rivers State? So Seriake Dickson was against it. Senator Aminu Tambuwal, former Speaker of House of Representatives, was against it. Senator Eyinnaya Abaribe and some others were against that declaration, and they were set for a showdown with Senate President Godswill Akpabio. Remember the background I gave you, that Akpabio wants to be Senate President till 2031. So Akpabio finds himself in a dilemma. So Dickson, Tambuwal, and Eyinnaya Abaribe led the debate. But what happened during the closed session? This is where it gets interesting. They were prevented from debating. Akpabio was trying to stop them during the closed session. He reportedly, as stated by Senator Dickson, said that he didn't give them the chance to debate it. Now, in a democracy, the majority will always have their way. So if the Senate president could muzzle a majority for the state of emergency to sail through, all well and good. But then, Akpabio didn't even allow them to engage in a good debate like we had in the Saraki-led Senate. That Saraki wasn't in the good book of Buhari, but Saraki would let a good debate to emerge on the floor, and the Buhari boys may eventually have their way by way of majority, but Saraki will make sure that there's a good debate. So Saraki prevent them from bringing out, some rigorous debate, some strong argument as regards the declaration of a state of emergency. So Dickson and the other senators haven't been against the state of emergency, and they were not allowed to speak. Their voice was, trampled on. Their right to, debate was allegedly trampled upon by the Senate president. They decide to walk out, when they see that they even allow them to speak. So they staged a walkout from the chambers of the Senate, and that was why when the voice would be put out, when the media was allowed in after the closed door session, and Senate President Godswill Akpabio was reading the resolution of the Senate, and when they said, that those in support say aye, and there was a loud aye, those against say nay, and nobody said anything. And the reason for that was because those that were against it have staged a walkout. But Akpabio, in order to appear in the good book of the president as he is in charge of the Senate, and he is able to kind of make some difficult choices, impose some difficult choice on the Senate, and that he is capable to drag the wish of the president no matter how difficult it is. What the Senate President Godswill Akpabio did, he made that statement in unanimity, as you saw in that video. He said in unanimity, but the question is, was there truly a unanimous position? The truth is no, and Akpabio himself know that there was no unanimous position by the senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, but he decided to play politics. He decided to play the clever one, so that when reports will go back to the presidency that we have approved it, they will now say in unanimity. And you can see the statement that the presidency released. Akpabio eventually achieved the same, because the president thanked the senators for being bipartisan and for speaking with one voice in support of the state of emergency that he declared in Rivers State. So Akpabio is, allegedly playing on the intelligence of the senators. He's trying to be political by saying in unanimity, but in the true sense of it, there was no unanimous position by the senators. The senators did not agree unanimously that okay, the state of emergency should sail through. So you can see the politics that Akpabio is playing, but at the end of the day, he may eventually not have his way in 2027 because the Tinubu boys, will give him a good run for his money, and they will give him a good fight. They will give him, a good run for the race of the Senate presidency. That is if the North themselves, do not resist his emergence. You know that when he emerged now as the Senate president, the Northern caucus gave him a good run, but they were resisted because of the conduct of the Buhari presidency, whereby Buhari was president and they, imposed Ahmed Lawan, a Northerner, as Senate president. So it was a payback that favored Godswill Akpabio. But what I can say is that preventing debate on a sensitive matter like the state of emergency by the Godswill Akpabio-led Senate is not something that is very, very good, and that is something that is of concern to Nigerians and the senators. And Akpabio also said in that video that you went to the media, that you addressed the media. He was referring to Senator Seriake Dickson, that you have said the Senate will not go with you. Yes, the Senate will not go with you, but the question is that, as argued by Senator Seriake Dickson himself, when does it become an offense for a senator to speak to the media as regards a matter of public concern, an issue of public debate? Will you stop Senator Seriake Dickson from sharing his own opinion on the media channel Arise News? So you can see an effort by Senate President Godswill Akpabio to allegedly gag the senators in such a way that they won't even be able to speak to the media. But it's good that people like Senator Seriake Dickson are resisting it. And shout out to Senator Seriake Dickson, because his state governor Doyediri is now ousting the suspended governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara. So you can see that Senator Seriake Dickson has been a Fubara's man, and he is going all out to make sure that Fubara is protected. And shout out to Bayelsa people and Governor Doyediri for protecting Governor Siminalayi Fubara. I may make a video later on as regards why Fubara had to stay in a government house, but that's an analysis for another day. And that's why, if you are yet to subscribe, of course, do well to subscribe to this channel. But what I can say is that the Senate president should realize that the Senate is a gathering of equals, and he should be able to kind of find a middle ground, despite the fact that he wants to satisfy the president and he wants to actualize his ambition of returning as a Senate president in 2027. It's been an interesting time with on this episode of Politing with Dr. Omoshola. Do well to subscribe, turn on your notification button, catch up with my past videos, and of course I have great interesting videos coming your way. Till I see you again, always remember that I love you all sincerely.